Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today I'm going to be going over Silverheels, #1 from PC Comics, a 1983 comic book by Scott Hampton. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color, 20-page anthology comic book that you can get at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to the website, Comics Creators Marketplace, and there's a few up there now, but I'm going to be getting more up there, and also all kinds of other artists' books and stuff. It's the eBay for indie comics. So if you're an indie comics creator and you have a comic book, please get in touch with me and let me know if you want to see your comics on the eBay of indie comics. So like I said, it's an anthology, and it's number 34 is the newest issue, and you can get these very easily, and I always appreciate your support. So thank you very much. So now on to Silverheels. Scott Hampton and Bo Hampton are two fantastic artists. As soon as you see their artwork, you realize who they are, what they are. They've done some great Batman. They've done some graphic novels, some like usually fantasy, sword and sorcery kind of graphic novels. They've done a whole bunch of stuff, both for Marvel and DC and indie comic stuff. This is actually Scott Hampton's first real big thing that he did. And I think he is the creator, because we have Bruce Jones, who's the co-author, Scott Hampton, who's the artist, and April Campbell, co-author and editor. So I don't know, maybe Scott is not the primary author and the writer and stuff. But he definitely is the artist. It's fantastic. One of the greatest things. He and his brother, they do such fantastic color work. It's just amazing. So they were, to get into them a little bit, they're artists. This is 1983, so it's like I said, it's his first real big work. But he and his brother had done different things, one shots or backup stories and stuff like that. And I was going to say that they were taught by Will Eisner, and that is, I was trying to remember Will Eisner's name for, old man brain. But that is truly an amazing thing. I know that Will Eisner taught at not RISD, School of Visual Arts, I think, in New York City. So they were kind of a competitor for the Kubert School. And how can you get a better comic book teacher than Will Eisner? He's one of the greatest comic book creators of all time, and he's influenced so many people. But let's get into the book. I'm going to forego the traditional reading of it, or going through it and then going back and looking at the art and the writing. It's pretty professional writing. It's not as good as I would like. I normally don't like to say that. I don't like to call comics good or bad. It's just either for you or it's not for you. I think though that they were all learning their craft, and even the writers. I think the writers were honing their craft, and they were learning different techniques, as well as this Scott Hampton upstart who was just learning, doing comic books and stuff like that. So I'm going to read the intro. It's #1, so we don't need any of those pesky letters of what happened before or anything like that. But we'll read this intro because it's a big, grand world, and every comic book has to start with paragraphs and paragraphs of text, and narration, if that's the way they go. They either do that, and if they're creating new world, or they just jump into the story, or there's lots of different ways to do it, but this is how they chose to do it. My life is on this compound. I know no other. Here I hunt for rabbit jacks, sleep on the dirt beneath the bloody moon. The barrier encloses us, standing as it is, has stood since before my grandfather was born, and round its fringes are staked pale Nazite guards, protecting their world from the likes of us. In the distance, I see the city of lights. Above it hovers an amber fog, and beneath that fog the Danites are keepers by day. I cannot reach them. My worldly body stays trapped by this prison of wire mesh. But by night, I am the dreamer. My soul flies through the compound barrier and travels into that city, into the sleek aerofares and lofty towers, through the aqueducts, over the military installation, where the night flyers march formation. Beneath that amber firmament, the Nazites sleep, and I enter their minds, the way I enter the mind of the rabbitjack as I stalk it. I see their pasts and futures. I sense their fears. Grandfear says my talent was born on the running war, when blood and fire ran from the skies. I am the first dreamer my tribe has known. I am Silverheels. So that just basically sets up, you have your haves and your have-nots. Silverheels is a have-not. This is very, very Native American, and actually, I think it's a little bit more. It's almost post-apocalyptic, but the Nazites are very authoritative and fascist, and they really hold these what are they called again? I can't remember what they're called. Anybody, his people, they hold them in like a sanctuary or like a slum or something like that. And the Nazites are actually German, so it's very much like, what if the Germans had taken over the United States and put all of the Native Americans into like slums and stuff like that. So I'm just going to read another couple pages. 40 seasons ago, I was born to this compound. My mother did not survive my birth, but my grandfear raised me up well, showing me the ways of our people, the Apaches. Again, I said Native American, the Apaches. See, child, the stick smells the water beneath the earth. We shall dig here. My instinct to survive was strong. I learned well. Silverheels, beware! Ah, we shall feast tonight. He grabs a snake. I was fastest, surest, the most cunning, brave in the tribe. I was the most alone. They hate me, Grandfear. They fear you, Silverheels. They believe you are possessed. They do not understand your great gift, but I do, my son. Grandfears is timekeeper and weaver of the tales. He keeps the history of our tribe in his heart. Once the Red Apache roamed free in the outworld, long before the Nazite race rose to power. The Nazite sent the framed Apache and all men of color to die in the compounds and set out to conquer the stars. But the stars fought back. And where the Nazites defeated? Oh no, little one, only driven back. The Nazites are gods. They are invincible. But Grandfear is wrong. I know them to be merely men. It is amazing. His artwork is just so amazing. It's so Frank Frazetta inspired. I love it. It's very who's this in the back? Dave. It's not in the back. This is actually two comics, but I'm only gonna go over the first one. Dave Stevens. Dave Stevens, he looks a lot like Dave Stevens. His line work, it's very crisp, but he's got a real nice variation of thin and thick line work. Like, he knows where all of his blacks are supposed to go, but he uses this his really thin line work to really get in there and do the noodly detail. And you can see he's done a whole bunch of anatomy and life drawing and human figure drawing. So he's really an expert at the human figure, which is really fantastic. And his facial features. I mean, it's very realistic. It's a realistic in a comic book way, very much like Alex Ross, I would say. I would say he's a cross between Alex Ross and Frank Frazetta. Or if Frank Frazetta and Alex Ross combined into one person, you would have Scott Hampton and Bo Hampton, because they create art so similarly. It's ridiculous. So we have this fox or whatever, and we have Silverheels, and he grabs the fox, breaks its neck. He's going to eat it or bring it back to the tribe or whatever. But something happens off panel, and this is kind of why I think the writers, more the writers than Scott Hampton, unless he really has a lot to do with the writing. He's there he is, the devil. He's murdered my sister, Chiala, after him. So, like, what happens off panel, and you just kind of told it. I mean, a lot of people say show and don't tell, and there's definitely times when you don't show, but you do tell. Like a great example is all of the Alfred Hitchcock, but also Jaws and a lot of that other stuff. But so the guy attacks him. One of the problems here, though, is that Silverheels was originally, no, he didn't have long hair. Yes, he has long hair here, and then he has short hair here. So it kind of changes that. So that is a problem for all of them. I think it's mostly for the artist, though, because he should have had him have short hair throughout the whole thing, because he kind of does have short. Does he? Is this where he has long hair here? So when you're changing the hairstyle of a character and you don't really know exactly who that is, that kind of breaks you out of the immersion, especially if you have to look back and stuff. So broken immersion, you can think that this is Silverheels and this is the other guy, especially because he's kind of he's dressed like this, like they have the same color, this light teal. So it becomes a little bit confusing, and I didn't have to reread it, but I did have to kind of slowly kind of figure out what was going on there, because the likenesses were so different. This is Scott Hampton's first real big comic book work, so I totally forgive him for any kind of mistakes he makes. He's growing. He becomes he already is a fantastic artist, but he has to learn the intricacies of the comic book form, which, as we all do, which we all still are. I mean, I still am anyway. So they accuse him of killing his sister. They get into a fight, but Silverheels, I don't know, stabs this other guy. It's a little bit, again, he's working on his narrative art. I much would have rather seen this panel as a continuation of that, and then he could be running. There's an awful lot of running in this book, and they could have just slowed that down a little bit. He comes across where the barrier is, where the Nazites and the Patchy are where the Patchy are kind of just in their little quarters, their little slums, or their little whatever they are. And then the guard kind of gives the Patchy a little bit of a hard time, like yelling at him and stuff, and they start shooting at him, and he gets him on the face. But Patchy runs away, and he makes his way to a tree, and he can't be found, or the guard can't find him. But these other people can't find him that think that he killed the sister. They are still looking for him. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he just kind of lays there and falls asleep because he can't go left, he can't go right. But this gives it a chance to explore the dreamerness of him. So as it explained earlier in this narration, he goes into the minds and souls of the Nazites, and he takes over one of them, much like Bran does in Game of Thrones, where he takes over Hodor and the wolf and all this stuff. So he sees all of the compounds and stuff. This is where you get your first kind of glimpse that it's a German. The Nazites are very German inspired. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the calling them the Patchy and the Nazites and them having a German influenced language, it's a little bit too much for me. It's a little bit unoriginal. Feels a little bit unoriginal. But he's exploring, and he realizes that the leaders are talking about how there's a group of aliens coming. Remember, the aliens have smacked down the Nazites, and they've relegated them to their own little planet, and they keep tabs on them. And so they're getting together a group of people who could possibly become part of a police force that the aliens have created or whatever. So the Nazites have gotten their 10, I think it's 10, I don't know how many, combatants to kind of go in this compound with the aliens and try to figure out who was the best suited to become one of the alien police officers, whatever. Feels a little bit like Alien Legion. I am going to go over a bunch of Alien Legion because that has some great art and some great stories and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of it. I haven't read a lot of it, but I've read the graphic novel. Carl Potts is a great artist and really underappreciated for his art anyway. So it's all that stuff. He comes back awake and his grandfather is there, and Silverheels tells his grandfather that he's going to go off and infiltrate the Nazites, and he's not going to go live in that compound because it's just death for everybody. And he's right. I mean, it's just this. It's a slum, so he's not going to have any of it. He goes back to the guard, and the guard is like, You've got come back for some more." And so Silverheels grabs his neck and snaps it, and he infiltrates into the compound, or into the city where the Nazites are waiting for the alien delegation. And there's a daughter of the leader, and she's very excited, but the leader's like, "I won't have you be excited like this. You need to calm yourself, and don't embarrass me with the aliens." Again, they meet with the alien ambassador. The alien is like, "Before, when we talked, you called me swine, and that you thought I was beneath you." And the Nazite is like, well, he just kind of brushes it off because he knows that he can't say that kind of stuff while this alien ambassador is here to pick up the recruits for the Space Force or whatever it is. Silverheels rushes in, starts pounding these recruits, and starts beating them because I think his plan is to defeat all of them, and then he will become the recruit by the aliens, which the Nazites don't want that to happen. So the alien sees Silverheels, he sees a spark. The commander or the leader or whatever says, "He's not one of us. He can't go off into this recruiting program or whatever." And the alien says, "Ridiculous. Silverheels has shown that he's strong enough and he's good enough. He can do it. And he can be part of the program anyway." So they all take off and they leave space. The daughter goes with them. I'm not entirely sure why, but also the boyfriend, who I guess Silverheels was fighting before this. He was one of the guys that he was fighting. This guy says, "Fool, coward, you should have saved your people. You'll never save yourself. You're dead, man, Silverheels." But he's also the boyfriend of this princess or whatever, which is kind of weird that they throw that in, but they do. So we go to the moon. I'll read this little part. "This is where we train all cadets for a lawkeeper force. For 2 weeks, I am in charge of this outfit. You will obey me or suffer disqualification from the program. At the end of your stay, one of you will be chosen to represent your planet on the force of the best of you. I oppose this program. I don't trust your kind. The council ordered it, and I'll be fair. But no one said I had to like it. Now, lights out. Revile at 0600. I'll do it." This is the guy that was giving Silverheels a hard time. He just kind of wakes up Silverheels, or he starts attacking him. And at first, over here is just going to take it, but then he's like, starts smashing. This is really great. This is awesome. If you've seen any Frank Frazetta artwork, comic book artwork, this is very reminiscent of the action scenes that Frank Frazetta would do, which is really fantastic. But the guard, or drill sergeant, busts in. He breaks them up, and this guy is like, because he says, "Filthy savage, staring at my Miranda, my fiance, one thing on your dirty red mind." So it's weird that they throw that in. I mean, he could have just done that because he infiltrated and he's Apache. They didn't really have to throw that in, but I guess they're trying to tie things in together, but it makes it weaker a little bit. Sometimes adding superfluous threads, in a story can make it weaker. Kind of like the Watchmen, the two-parter Watchmen, where they added a couple of things or a few things into the dialogue, into the story, that I really thought weakened Watchmen. And Watchmen is my favorite comic book story of all time. No, bar none. So it's odd that they would do that. But they do what they do. So, Silverheels wakes up. He sees the princess. She's dancing. I don't know if this is a dream or not. And the narration and the narrative art here is very off because she's dancing and then she looks at him and she sees it, or she doesn't see him. He sees her. And then he says this. So I think you're supposed to read this, 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 and this. You don't hate me? On the contrary, I've been waiting for you all my life. You've come at last. Or so it's supposed to this, 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 this. It's super hard to understand why they did that. But anyway, that's where it is, to be continued. I think she's a dreamer as well. I think that's probably what happened. And so that's why she has this connection with him. But I mean, just look at some of this beautiful watercolor. I think the majority of this watercolored, it could also be dyes or inks or something like that. But I think the majority of watercolor, especially the backgrounds and some of the darker areas, I think are watercolored. Again, he's a new artist, a new comic book artist. He's learning his craft. He's learning his stuff. I don't know who does the lettering, whether this is like an in-house thing for PC or whether he does it on his own. So I don't know who does that, who does the lettering, but it really kind of messed everything up, my whole, brought me right out of the immersion of the comic book again, like I said. So that's really my only problem, is that the breaking of the immersion a couple of times. And the storyline is a little bit, it's simple. It's, but it has some things in it, like calling the marginalized peoples Patchies, and the use of the German language as the bad guys. But I mean, it's 1983, not all that far from World War II, rather. So it is what it is. It's in the story, and it's a pretty good story. The art is fantastic. It carries the story. What can I say? It is what it is, writing wise and art wise. So Silverheels #1. What am I going to give this for a rating? A review. What could I could give it, a super 8, 9 stuff because of the art. The art is that good. You could easily get this for the art only. And if I do find these out in the wild, I will buy them again for the art. But that is all. I'm really not into the story. The art is fantastic, though, so it carries it up into an 8. I can't go over that because the story is just a little bit weak, and like I said, they're learning their craft. He's learning his craft, so the art wise is great. I give it an 8. If I was just giving the art a rating, I might go as high as a 9 or 9.5. But because he's working on his comic book craft, I can't give it anything more than that. I can't give it I'm giving it an 8. And that's that. I think that's pretty generous, considering some of the flaws that are in it. So anyway, Silverheels #1 is I'm giving an 8. So if you like this kind of content and you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. This is the kind of stuff I go over. I go over indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, really whenever. Just anything that's artistic or weird or gives me that kind of oomph in my artistic, desire, then that's what I'm going to go over. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll have a video with Joe this weekend, and check us out again. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all of your support. And as always, keep on creating.